the second project from my design and manufacturing class. It's titled Becoming an Expert in Golf Club and Putter Research and Design. My name is Blake Hembree, and this is submitted to Dr. Hassan Rashidi. So sort of going into why golf club and putter R&D. Um, Golf has been a part of my life for years. Not just playing it, but really obsessing over the gear. The engineering that's involved with it, the feel of like a well-balanced putter, impact of shaft length, all these things, these key performance indicators, I really find interesting. As a mechanical engineer, I see the game through a technical lens. Really, that connection between sports engineering and human performance is really powerful. This field gives me the opportunity to combine what I love, what I'm good at, and kind of where I could see myself getting plugged into the industry. Uh, you know, we're really living in a time where the golf industry is not only growing, but it's really evolving. Uh, the rise in recreational players and innovations in data-driven design, really over the last couple years, especially during that COVID time, means there's a time, or there's really never been a better time to, specialize in golf club and putter R&D. So what is golf R&D? Golf R&D is really a multidisciplinary field. It sits at sort of an intersection between mechanics, material science, biomechanics, and human-centered design. You know whether we're talking about optimizing a putter to achieve the most forgiveness, um, tuning launch angle of a driver, adjusting shaft stiffness. The goal is always the same, right? Performance, consistency, and field. This kind of research is driven not just by like the elite athletes, the professional golfers, but it's really by everyday players, right? Since such a majority of the game is taken up by these amateurs, it's really those guys that are really trying to get better gear that can really help enhance this game. Kind of from a personal level, this is something I've been working on with GTRI this past semester as a research project with Dr. Rashidi on optimizing or restructuring on how putter shaft length can affect both distance control and putting accuracy. That's really been a cool project so far, um, and I've really enjoyed it. It's kind of really propelled me to somehow, in some way or fashion, get involved in this field in the future. So where the expertise kind of applies. So you know the obvious answer is just these top tier golf companies, right? So if you're unfamiliar with the field, some of them consist of Ping, Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, all these leaders in the golf industry space. But there's a lot more that goes on to that. You've got motion capture and swing biomechanics labs. These things are really pushing the boundaries of how players really interact with their equipment. It's more of a dynamic relationship they have going, as well as there's smart club tech, clubs that really can provide real feedback. Things like Arcos, which is a sensor that you can put on the butt of your club that generates all these metrics and variables about impact angle, club speed, ball speed. It's really cool. Um, and then there's the startup world, right, where people are building direct to consumer platforms for fully customized clubs based on body metrics and swing data. And you've even seen this at professional level, like professionals like Bryson DeChambeau is really getting involved with the startup world where these club companies are using additive manufacturing, 3D printed golf clubs to sort of customize it to his exact needs, which is really cool. The field doesn't just apply to one career path, which I really like about it. It kind of gives you options whether you want to go into manufacturing, go into design, go into research. It really has all these different pathways to explore. That's kind of one of the main reasons I'm really drawn to it. Trends and innovations and the future. Kind of talking about where things are headed. The industry so far is seeing a huge wave of AI-driven, CAD modeling, whether it's, the companies mentioned before, Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, are using these AI tools to really advance and speed up their process of generating new clubs, which is why you see, multiple revisions each year for some of these large companies, as well as robotic testing. So taking out the variability from player to player and getting consistent data from robots during the fitment process, as well as real-time fitment using motion cameras. They're able to capture and monitor like pressure via mapping. There's also, from a material standpoint, you have really cool new materials such as like lightweight carbon fiber, becoming like the standard of shafts, especially at the professional level, as well as 3D printing allows for custom prototyping and really iterative design like never before. So it's really speeding up that process from a producer standpoint. We're also seeing the emergence of digital twin models. Essentially basically creates a replica of a player and their swing, which is really cool on optimizing certain parameters for each player, because each player has their own unique swing, right? So a certain club for one doesn't mean that it will be the best club for the other. And it's really cool. You can even see this from a consumer standpoint. Like the image I have here in the bottom right is of the TGL arena, which is really something cool. It's SoFi provided this completely indoor experience, right? Where you have this massive screen, as you can see in the bottom, where these professionals are hitting into it, generating all these metrics of spin rate, where the ball is going to go, and it's so accurate. It's honestly insane, but it creates that indoor arena, a little more player fan engagement, which I think I could really see the space go into in the future. Someone uh, who's kind of trained in engineering but is passionate about sports, this future is kind of really what I want to help shape, and really where I can see myself getting involved in. Skills that I feel like can set me apart. Um, so what kind of makes me a strong fit for this field is I've built a solid foundation in CAD. A couple summers ago, for 2 summers actually, I worked in an aftermarket car parts manufacturer, where I was really just became really fluent in SolidWorks and the ins and outs of that industry, and as well as the design process of what it takes to go from the first iteration to eventually placing POs and getting test parts in to actually have fitment on. It was really cool and an enlightening process. I do have some FEA as well experience, which I think would really help me, with test designs, whether it be for both club or ball. Uh, Tons of experience in 3D printing at both my jobs, as well as throughout text classes. ME 2110, a lot of them require constant use of this. Also creating a DOX, right, a design of experiments. This is something that I had to implement, in the research project I'm doing this semester. Is really creating sort of my own design because my professor really left it up to me to create my thesis. So a lot of it was up to me, which I really enjoyed. Analyzing all this data as well has been a fun and enjoyable process. But kind of most importantly, I'm ready to dive deep into the biomechanics, right? Understanding how body metrics and equipment interact. This is something I'm really unfamiliar with, so I wouldn't say it sets me apart, but what I do think I can, I really have an aptitude and ability to learn it quickly, and kind of am driven to see, from my athletic standpoint of, you know, how each person swings and body mechanics change and how that equipment shows that. I also know how to communicate, not just with engineers, but coaches, players. So that bridge between technical skill and human design, I think, is something I really take pride in. My current preparation. So my background kind of includes hands-on roles and design engineering process improvements. I mentioned before, working with a car part manufacturer at Z1. After that, after those 2 summers, I worked at Marvin Keystone. I really led, design initiatives, used lean manufacturing tools, which I know all these companies as mentioned before, um, Ping, TaylorMade, Callaway. This is all something they're doing. I've also worked on golf-specific research, as I mentioned, with GTRI, studying how shaft length affects putting control and accuracy, which I really think is, sets me apart from a lot of the recruiting class. I've applied to multiple golf companies' internships as well as full-time positions, so hopefully we'll be hearing back from those soon. Vision and impact. I want to help design performance-driven, sustainable golf clubs. It's not only to make players better, but to make the game, more inclusive, accessible, and enjoyable as a whole. Because the game can be pretty pricey as it sits now. I want to engineer like empathy, right? Creating clubs that prevent injuries. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't take into account. Adapt to different body types, and even give every golfer the confidence to go out there and perform at a high level. I really would like to also inspire future engineers to really seek these sports designs roles. I think a lot of them kind of shy away from that and go into the more traditional engineer roles. But it's really a legitimate career path. It can really help you merge passion with precision, and something I can really see myself doing in the future. Well, this has been my presentation. Thank you so much.